It's Derek Cummings, speaking from South Wales in Cardiff, and I'm actually in my Zoom room, so I hope you like it here. And I'm going to talk about lung strengthening and breathing and research and a product here that I'm actually endorsing for a change, which is called the Breather. It's one I've been using, and I've actually found it to be an immense help. And what it does is it strengthens the diaphragm. Now, before you use any device like the Breather, which is a diaphragm trains, it's a respiratory trainer if you like, you've got to do it through the belly, and that means you've got to learn a bit of belly breathing, because the diaphragm basically is a weakened muscle. It doesn't work well for us with COPD. It's flattened, it's curved, and it means that we've lost a lot of the force needed to contract and relax when exhaling and inhaling. What we need to do is actually strengthen it up so it works a bit better. And the problem with a weak diaphragm is that it causes an increase in the shortness of breath when laying flat, when you're walking, or with immersion in water up to the lower chest. Have you been in a swimming pool then and you've gone up to here, you probably felt the pressure on your chest, and that's what it's caused by. It's caused by the chest, now by your diaphragm. Now, another thing with chest breathing, which a lot of us do, is that you only breathe taking in 20% of the air that you could be taking in. You're only using the top 20% of your lungs, and that means that 80% is not being used at all. It's just stale air in there that's going nowhere. No wonder most of us are having problems walking or talking or doing anything at all. We need to change that. We need to change it as much as we can, because by not breathing properly, hyperinflation is rampant as well, and that's causing problems. So belly breathing is important. It's important to learn belly breathing. Now, I trained myself to belly breathe, and I found it relatively easy. What I did, I put one hand on my chest here, one hand on my belly. I actually laid on the bed because it's easier to start learning on the bed. And I watched my hands slowly up and down, up and down. Where that's helped, and the breathers helped, is that I can lay down easier and I can gain my breath back easier, and that's so important. I can get my O2 up easier. For instance, I noticed yesterday that my O2 levels had got 87 in the evening, and I thought, well, I won't put the oxygen back straight on. What I'll do is I'll keep the oximeter on. I'll do some belly breathing. I'll see how we get on with that. Well, it went from 87 to 93 within a couple of minutes, and that's on room air without putting the oxygen on. So it does show you the difference of belly breathing. Now, if I'd have carried on breathing from my chest, which I probably was at the time, that's what happened, then it would have stayed at 87 and probably dropped. It has gone down to 82 before now. I've got it up the same way though. I've used belly breathing, and it works a treat. It will get it back up into the 90s. So there's one to bear in mind. It does help you to breathe better. When I first brought the Breather, what I did is I tried it out at first, and I found that it wasn't really helping me. I expected it to clear my chest, but it wasn't meant to clear my chest. It was meant to improve my diaphragm. Now, I didn't realise that. I was a bit stupid. I didn't look properly. So what I did, I put it on the coffee table beside where I sit at night, and really I forgot about it until one of our ladies, Carol Kirker, mentioned, or she showed me one. I said, do you know about one of those? And I said, oh yeah. I said, I don't really think much of it, Carol. And then I started thinking, well, hang on a minute, let's do some research into this, because I haven't really given this a fair try. I've done the research. I wish I had given it a fair try, because the research was absolutely amazing. And now I'm here endorsing it, and I'll tell you all about it in a minute. The device itself was devised by a respiratory therapist called Peggy Nicholson for COPD patients, and it had actually resounding success, and it had the backing of science. And they also found that in her patients, and for many patients since, it reduces exacerbations. And that is so important with us, because each exacerbation means we get a little bit worse in many cases. This is just being a handheld respiratory muscle training device used for pulmonary function with COPD patients. It's just such an easy thing to use. Basically, it's like weightlifting for lungs, if you like. That's the best way to describe it. You're not doing it with your arms. You're not doing it with your legs. It's for your lungs. It's weightlifting for your diaphragm. It's also used by athletes to improve their performance on the field, and by singers and musicians. They find it helps them with their singing as well. I can imagine that if you were an opera singer and they expel an enormous amount of air, that it could be an amazing benefit, or choirs or anything like that. They use it. But even more amazing was that I come across was that special forces use it in training. You know, recruits, they try it out because it gives them a better chance of passing their selection rates, and they find that cadets have a huge success rate with it, that they improve their lung capacity so much that they find they can do so much more in army training. So that's another thing to think of as well. Think of yourself as training for the special forces. If you try it, that's what I have to start thinking in future. The device is backed by science, and there's a multitude of research into it, which I'll advise you in a bit to go and do your own research, because it shows that with COPD it helps with sleep disordered breathing by increasing oxygen levels, and it helps you to breathe more deeply, because after all it's training your respiratory muscles, and because you're breathing better and you're breathing easier and you're breathing deeper, that means that you're getting your medication into your lungs better. Your pumps, you know, your spirovers and all that, they're going in with no problems at all. This takes about up to 2 weeks to alleviate symptoms of COPD symptoms. It took me about 2 weeks to start noticing the benefits. Some have noticed it before, but after about 6 weeks it's supposed to be nothing short of astounding. I haven't been using it for 6 weeks yet. I'm nearly halfway there. I'll let you know the difference when I get there, but it already is making a big difference. It's a simple device. It just strengthens the diaphragm, helps raise the oxygen levels, and just helps you do more. It's works by you breathe in 10, take 10 breaths in the morning, and then have a 2 or 3 minute break, have another 10 breaths in. Do the same in the evening. When you start off, you've got little dials on it, one for inhaling, one for exhaling, and just set it to number 1 to start with. Increase it slowly to what you're comfortable with using. Just make sure your cheeks don't go in and out while you're using it. But there's lots of very good training videos on the site of the manufacturers that make these, much better videos than I make. They're done professionally. They're refreshing. So have a look at those, because there's lots of research there as well. You use it 6 days a week. You don't use it 7 days a week. And you get a day of rest. Today's my day of rest. It's a Sunday today. But you might choose a Saturday or a Friday or a Tuesday. It doesn't really matter. But have your day of rest and don't use it more than what is recommended. And the reason for that is if you overdo it, you're going to make your muscle, you know, your big muscle, your big diaphragm muscle, too tender, and you may stop using it because you think, oh, this hurts too much, this is so hard, which would be a great shame because the benefits are so good. Follow it strictly according to how you're told, because you will find in the end that belly breathing will become much more natural and you become more aware of it. And the benefits, you've got improved oxygen saturation, has improved mine, there's no doubt about it. Reduces breathlessness, has reduced mine, reduces hyperinflation. Well, I'm not sure, but I'm assuming it has mine. And hyperinflation itself causes breathlessness. I find now that I can get around the house easier. I don't get quite so breathless. I do get breathless, of course I do, but I'm not so bad. I can do a bit more. I find that when I come back from the bathroom, I'm not so out of breath. I find I can lay down, and it's much easier. I can lay down without coughing my heart out. It's all helped. That and the Arabica, which I've already talked about. And I'm also finding I'm not using my oxygen quite so much as well. I'm hoping I give it a few more weeks that will become even easier as well. And you know, the faster return of oxygen levels at room air. Now, as a downside, yes, my diaphragm is a bit tense at times. It feels tense. I wouldn't say tender. It doesn't hurt. It feels a bit tense, you know. And you can expect that because you are actually training a muscle. You know, you're talking about a muscle that hasn't been used properly. Until when I started the belly breathing, before I started the breather, I started to get some tension in my diaphragm. So even just belly breathing make it a bit tenser. Just go along with that one. It's worth it. If you were you know, a power lifter or something like that, you would get that and you wouldn't think twice about it. And when you were younger, you used to do sports, I suspect, and sometimes your muscles would ache and you would think nothing about it. Just think about it the same way. The benefits are just far outweigh anything at all. There's lots of videos about it on the site. There's an app, a smartphone app, that actually trains you. That's called the breather. You can look for on your apps and type in the breather. You're bound to come up with it. It's also said to help with heart failure as well. Now, if you've got heart failure, see your doctor first. I always recommend that, and just mention that you want to try using the breather. It's past research. The research is happy, and a lot of people have helped it. And if he says it's okay, then go ahead and use it, and you should find it an immense help. I mean, most of all, do your own research. You know, go onto Google and type in the breather research the breather, and research it well, because it's a very simple device. Very simple device. It's about £56 here in the United Kingdom. I'm going to put a link on my page, and hopefully we'll be able to get a link onto YouTube, and you'll be able to look it up from there. And all the videos will be there and everything else, and you should be able to research it on there and everything else. That will help you. So look out for the link. And for now, be kind, breathe easier. Hope you found that this is useful, and let me know what you think. Let me know if you try it, and let me know how you get on. So from Cardiff here in South Wales, breathe easy, be kind, most of all be kind to yourself. Bye bye.